All right, folks, it is indeed an honor to introduce my next guest. He's pretty much considered royalty in the eyes of Kansas City Chiefs fans, regarded as one of the best free safeties to have ever played the game. He was a six-time Pro Bowl selection from 1983 to 1988, starting in five of them in his 11 years with the Chiefs. Few other Chiefs players have been selected to this number of Pro Bowls. He had six 100 tackle seasons in his 11 years as a member of the Chiefs, with a career total of 927 tackles. He was a five-time All-Pro in 1983, 84, 85, 86, and 88. He was also a five-time first-team All-AFC. Folks, please welcome former Kansas City Chiefs free safety Deron Cherry to the show. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. It's great to be on the show, and it's great to to hear all those accolades again. And I hadn't heard some of that stuff in a long time. So it's good, and I appreciate you having me on.
It is a pleasure. And you know what? When I was saying some of those, man, I remember you getting those awards, and I remember how you got them. That was that's even amazing. But it's nice having you on the show. And then I just want to say, before we even start talking about the Chiefs and what's happening this weekend, just how have you been, and what are you up to these days?
I've been great. Just working. I own a Anheuser-Busch distributorship here in Kansas City, and so been doing that. And I have my Deron Cherry Foundation, which we've been spending a lot of time working in the community, doing a number of things, supporting a number of different organizations here in Kansas City. So it really keeps me busy. And I've got kids that are, in college, in high school, and in grade school. So I'm very busy, but very blessed and very thankful for the opportunities that I have to serve our community here in Kansas City.
Yeah, and you have just done it really well. I mean, the folks just continue to say, just great things about you and the things you're doing in Kansas City. So I have to ask, because I know you're so tuned in and close with the organization there with the Chiefs. And what is different about this Kansas City team as compared to last year's team, Darren?
Uh, um, Really, the difference is, they seem to have a lot more pieces to the puzzle from a standpoint offensively. There's some weapons that we didn't have last year that I think are really explosive in a sense. And then also defensively, we got some playmakers. I think we've improved ourselves in the secondary. Some of it with the years' experience on some of these players, and other ones are rookies that have come in and really done just an incredible job. But overall, the difference is that you've got Patrick Mahomes with another year of getting better, and this team is just galvanized around his leadership, and he's just an amazing player that makes everybody else around him better. We always talk about the great players in the history of sports that are able to do that. You see two of them on Sunday, Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes.
That's true. And I just want to ask you, you talk about the defense now and the improvement from over last year to this year, but yet people still seem to underestimate this defense. And I have to ask you,
Yeah.
why is that?
Well, they don't have a lot of big names other than Tyrann Mathieu and Chris Jones, and you've got Clark on the outside that's been playing very, very well. Especially during the playoffs. But the rest of the guys, they're no-name guys, so they go unnoticed, but yet their performance is outstanding. And so they play together as a football team. They've got an excellent defensive coordinator that I think puts them in the best position, each and every one of them, to be successful and to utilize their strengths and abilities to get the job done. So yeah, if you sleep on this defense, you better be careful because they seem to turn it up when it counts the most.
Now I know you had to be excited when you guys got Tyrann Mathieu from the Houston Texans, a team that seems to just sort of kind of give everyone away. But I know the Chiefs had to be excited. That had to be a gift, right?
Oh, it was definitely a gift. As soon as I heard we got him, I called one of my former teammates who's going to be coaching on Sunday for the Buccaneers, Kevin Ross. He's the secondary coach down there, the cornerbacks coach. And I said, Kevin, what are we getting in him? He said, D, he's just like us, man. He's just like we were, and he's a player. That's all I need to hear. And, he has improved Kevin wrong in his assessment. Kevin coached him when he was out in Phoenix with the Cardinals, and he just said he's a great guy. He's a competitor, and he's a winner. And he has done just that. His leadership is just unbelievable. The way he gets these guys to, believe in themselves and not let the moment get too big. And, he's always coming up with the big plays. So, thankfully, Houston let him go, and we're the, proud recipient of a great football player who has made a tremendous difference, not just on the field, but off the field in the community too, as well here in Kansas City.
Yeah, it seems to be following your footsteps. How about that? That's good to see. Hey, folks, once again, we talking to the former Kansas City great Deron Cherry here on the MeanGene Show on iHeartRadio. You talked about some of your former players there, some of the guys that you played with. I mean, how many of them do you keep up with these days?
Oh, quite a bit. We have a pretty good alumni group here in Kansas City, probably one of the best in the country. Our Kansas City Chiefs ambassadors, and we do a lot for the organization and help out in the community as much as we can, and really just an extension of the team. So there's quite a bit. It's probably around 45, 50 guys
Wow.
that are part of that group, and we meet each month. Then I also keep in touch with some of my former teammates. Lloyd Burris, who I played with for a number of years, he was an all-pro player. Kevin Ross, I stay in touch with. So, those guys, you can't, you're like a family, when you've been in this league a long time, guys, and even some of the guys who, I didn't play with that live here in the area, we're still, I have those guys out. They participate in our golf events, our charity events, and some of the events that we do around town. Pick up the phone and call, and those guys always come out. So I'm very thankful that I've got the relationships that we've developed over the years of playing football, and guys have a tendency, to stay together and help one another out.
So now I think there's another player or another coach on that Buccaneers team that you may have crossed paths with. I don't know.
Oh, there's a bunch of them. Bruce Arians was the running back coach here when I was here. And then Todd McNair is
Exactly.
he's the running backs coach for the Buccaneers now, and Todd and I were teammates.
Right.
And so there's quite a few. They're all those Temple guys
Yeah.
on the East Coast. So I grew up on the East Coast, right across the bridge from Philadelphia. So Bruce did an outstanding job when he was coaching there, and I followed him throughout the league. And, after he left Kansas City here, he's just been a tremendous coach, and I'm so proud and happy for all the success. And the one thing about Bruce Arians is he's given our African American coaches an opportunity to have a place in this league and get an opportunity to hopefully be head coaches one day. So you got to give him a lot of credit for being able to hire minority coaches and bring them in the league and give them an opportunity, and that's something that's really, really special about him.
That is, and I'm so glad you brought that up because that is one of my questions that I wanted to ask you about that, because it seems like the NFL continues to miss the mark on that when it comes to hiring black coaches and GMs. And I know there were several head coaching vacancies this year, and of course your guy Eric Bieniemy interviewed for a couple of those jobs and did not receive a job. I mean, how does the NFL fix this problem?
they fix the problem. I think they've got to, all find a way. I think to number one, we have to get more African Americans in executive positions to be able to have some kind of influence over these owners that are making these decisions. And I understand that, ultimately those are the guys who are going to say yes or no to whoever the candidate is. But if you have some African Americans in those positions, I think it bodes, real well for an opportunity them to really bring some names of coaches forward that maybe somebody hasn't heard before, or hasn't been around, or has seen his coaching style, or knows him as a person, to be able to, give him the thumbs up. So I think from that standpoint, that needs to happen. And then on the coaching side, I think they've got to do a better job of giving these coaches a little more access, especially during the playoffs. I know they did a tremendous job this year of opening it up a little bit more with the virtual interviews and things of that nature. But, coaches that don't have an opportunity to go back and get second and third interviews because they're involved in the playoffs, I think there needs to be something, done about that, if it can be, to really open it up and give them an opportunity, maybe at a second and third interview, even still while they're playing. It might be a better situation, because a lot of times these folks who are not playing in the big game, they get that opportunity for the second and third interview, and they can, make a difference when they get in those interviews. And then all of a sudden these folks who are making decisions feel like, hey, this is a good candidate. I know we've got some other ones we want to talk to, but hey, we better get our guy while we can,
right,
because there's probably somebody else that's going to jump on him. So that's a hard thing, but I'm sure the league will address that in the off season. They always usually do have, the ability to bring these issues up and try to find solutions to them. And I'm confident that they will find some kind of way to, to make this a more better and fair situation for some of these coaches that don't have that opportunity.
Yeah, I hope so. I really do. I hope so. And lastly, Deron, I know I want to definitely respect your time here. I certainly got to get your thoughts on, what do you expect to happen this Sunday here? We, upon arriving here in Tampa a couple of hours ago, we found out that it's probably the weather forecast keeps changing. By the way, it doesn't feel like Florida. I think it's supposed to get in the 30s somewhere tonight. I probably could have stayed in Texas if I expected this, but Sunday, I think we're looking at somewhere around an 80% chance of rain. So, what are your thoughts on what's going to happen? I think I know who you want to win, but what do you think is going to happen Sunday?
I mean, I think it's going to be a very competitive game. I mean, both teams got playmakers, and both teams have good defenses. But I think, coaching always plays a big part in these big games. And, I know Bruce Arians is a great coach, but I like my chances with Andy Reid. I think he's always been one, when you've given him a couple weeks to prepare, he's always done an outstanding job of having his team ready to play, and the preparation has just been outstanding. And then he always is able to bring in some wrinkles. And I know Bruce Arians, he's very aggressive too, and they'll see something that they haven't seen before, so they'll have to adjust to that during the game. Just depends on what the flow of that game is. But these games are historically won in the trenches. The guys up front are the ones who really make it in how these games play out. And I know Tampa's going to try to rush 4 so they can keep 7 in coverage to be able to double team some of the threats that the Chiefs can put on them down the field. And the Chiefs have to figure out a way to get pressure up the middle on Tom Brady and not let him sit in the pocket, and especially be tight on receivers early in the route, because Brady likes to throw the ball quickly. And so it's going to be a matchup of 2 good teams, I think. But I think it's going to be, depending on the weather conditions are bad, then you have to be able to run the football.
Right.
But the Chiefs have shown that, in inclement weather, they played earlier in Buffalo this year, and it was raining and wet, and they still threw the ball, and they had a balanced attack. So they're prepared for any type of conditions, and I'm sure Tampa is too, used to being down there when it rains a little bit. I'm anticipating a very competitive football game, and it could come down to the team that has the ball last with these two great quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Might be the winning. Might be the team that wins. The team that has the ball last. With these great quarterbacks that have proven that they've got ice in their veins and nothing bothers them. That they're able to drive the ball down the field, even if it's, a minute and a half to go in the game, they still have that ability to make big plays and put their team in a position to score and win the game. So, but I like the Chiefs. I've said earlier, I think, depending on the weather, I'd say it was going to be a 34-27 game.
Okay.
But who knows what what the weather's going to bring, but I still think it'll be a fairly high-scoring game.
Okay. I tell you what, sir, I wish you the best come Sunday, and I once again, it's been an absolute honor. And Mr. Cherry, I also have to say this because I hope the next time our paths cross, I hope that you are in the Hall of Fame, sir, because you absolutely deserve it.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that, and hopefully one of these days that some people will, take a look at what I was able to accomplish throughout my career, and I think the measurables are there, and I've heard it from a number of different reporters that are on the selection committee, and I've known throughout the years. So I'm hoping that happens. I think I'm one of three guys who was the all-decade team and had, I don't know, 6 Pro Bowls and 5 All-Pros that's not in the Hall of Fame. So hopefully one of these days we'll get our chance.
Absolutely, sir, and I will be there and in the audience, supporting you 100%.
I appreciate that.
All right, sir.
Much.
You enjoy your evening, folks. Once again, the great Deron Cherry from the Kansas City Chiefs joining us here on the MeanGene Show right here on iHeartRadio.